On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. There's a lot unfolding. A lot of legal actions are starting to happen. I kind of wanted to do a quick video and give you the skinny on what just this little bit of legal action can do right now. And on top of that, like I've said, it's like a triage event, right? You grab the first states that you go after and file legal stuff for. You do that first, and then you start grabbing other states if you have time. Now, just to put some perspective on it, they've really gone after 5 states right now. 5 states. We got Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. Now, Nevada's kind of in there, and we've got some other states that have popped into play here and there, right? But just those 5 states, we're talking 73 electoral college votes. So even if these numbers are reasonably close, and they probably were at one point, 306 to 232. You take away 73 votes from Biden. What does that put him down at 233, right? You give 73 votes to Trump, and that puts him actually up at, 305? So now all of a sudden he's the winner. That's not counting potentially some of the other states that could come into play. So when a lot of people say, there's not really enough votes to matter, there's not really enough going on right now to shift the vote, that's not really true. And what we're also finding is that, maybe 132 votes in this one small little district, but that might actually affect the outcome of that particular House race. But then mention the fact that there's all the other districts or other counties around that have jacked up voting stuff. And when you add all those numbers together, you can potentially get a different number. Now, I understand that the AP, it probably says right below that the AP called this election already. I get that. Now, fortunately, the news doesn't actually call elections. Fortunately, it's done in a different way. That being said, Sidney Powell's allegations in Georgia, she says just in Georgia, are serious enough to alter the election results. Enough. That's 16 votes, by the way. That's not child's play. That's 16 away from Biden given to Trump. So that's a 32-point swing, if you will. Just Georgia, of the 5 states that are going on right now. Now, in Arizona, legislature's planning on holding some public hearings on matters of the election integrity, right? They want to stop the steal. Rallies are happening. We've got a lot of people that are coming out, a lot of attention's coming on this. People are noticing. People see what's happening. And they're coming out and speaking their minds via showing themselves. This is playing a huge part, but true, on top of all of that, we've also got some legal actions that are going on. I like how here in Aquí is the only part that, I don't know if vote in Spanish is still vote. I would assume it'd be like votar or something, right? I don't know. I'm an idiot, sure. But that being said, it's just funny how it's like only one of those words is actually split into a Spanish word as well here and aquí, but no vote. Why? Anyway, that's going to be happening over there. Also, Trump's legal team is going to be participating in this particular hearing. Now, I believe this is happening on Monday. Yes, Monday. So this is where all this ball starts to roll. You know, like they say, that thread in the sweater. You start tugging on that one thread, and the entire sweater starts to unravel. That's what's happening in these 5 states. Powell and Giuliani from 2 separate fronts, and I'm not trying to leave out Jenna Ellis. I apologize. She's part of Giuliani's Power Pack team for Trump. And then I'm sure Sidney Powell, and you've got Lynn Wood, and right, we've got some power players over there that have already filed for 2 states. So again, big things happening. President Trump's legal team's going to be out there in Arizona on Monday. So again, things are moving along. Now, is this enough to change things? Yeah, probably. Look at how far along we are. This is one of those places where you've kind of got to realize we wouldn't have gotten here unless there was actually some questionable things that have happened. When people have looked at the data is out of control. There is so many data anomalies that it's out of control. Now, that's circumstantial evidence, for sure. But that's not legitimate evidence, but is enough evidence to oftentimes get a hearing, which is what's starting to happen. Now, also, Pennsylvania, big time. GOP legislatures are actually trying to reclaim their abilities to vote. There's a lot going on in Pennsylvania, as they've talked about with Gettysburg and the symbolism behind all that. Pennsylvania is going to be a big deal. Now, Pennsylvania, 20 electoral college votes, or a 40-point swing. And again, a lot of these are going to go to the Supreme Court, most likely get the 1 vote for the state. The legislature is going to decide. That's probably how these questionable states will be resolved. But that being said, if we were to look at it just from an electoral standpoint version, that's a 40-point swing. That's a big deal. So things, again, happening out in Pennsylvania. We've got definitely Republican people that are making a lot of noise right now. Got a couple Democrat people that are trying to, I don't want to say cover up, but that's kind of what it sort of feels like. But you've got some people that are kind of backpedaling a little bit, and maybe they're hoping that people don't see what's just behind them, right? Also, Pennsylvania senators are mounting evidence that's going to show that the election was actually indeed compromised. Everyone and their mother's coming out of the woodwork right now. Now, I know a lot of people are like, do we have enough time? Do we have enough time to do all this? One, yes. Two, I've heard some precedent back in Nixon days. Some vote that switched, I think it was Hawaii, and it switched like way late. And they'd first certified their election result in like early December. And then after a recount and some other shenanigans, they finally switched it back to Nixon, I believe. And they switched the candidate either way. I take it back. They switched it back to Kennedy at the end. Long story short, they changed the vote and they refiled it like late December. Late December. Now, did that one state's vote matter? Maybe not. It's Hawaii. I don't think they're worth 2, 3 electoral college votes. Not a whole lot, but still. It's an example of how things how precedent has been set to do some things a little differently. This is the year of all years. For anybody to say like, well, we shouldn't mess with it this year. Well, first off, we've messed with everything under the sun this year. And it's 2020, and we've had the pandemic, and we've got all sorts of crazy stuff. Like people don't seem to die from old age anymore. They only die from COVID, right? It's just weird. We're in a whole new paradigm, apparently. And elections are one of the things that sort of got evolved, maybe is a way to put it. Michigan, Powell's lawsuit in Michigan's alleging that Dominion computer fraud and illegal conduct, in quotes, by election workers. They've got evidence of that. They've got sworn affidavits notarized that are punishable by law if they are in fact lies. They've got a number of those that are also being thrown into Michigan. So a lot going on there. State's going to hold a Gettysburg-style election fraud hearing on December 1st. Lots coming up in these short days in front of us. So December 1st is Tuesday. Arizona is Monday. Again, a lot of people are like, how can we get this done this quickly? They're lining things up. They kind of have to a degree. So Arizona's on Monday. On Tuesday, it looks like we're going to be dealing with Michigan. So a lot of things are kind of happening. Now, Robert David Steele, I don't know if you guys know much about him. He's a very interesting guy, supposedly ex-CIA. I say supposedly because if he is CIA, there'd be no paper trail of that really, right? But that being said, he's tied into all sorts of stuff. He has got his hand and thumb on the pulse of a number of things in all sorts of conspiracy circles. I like the guy. I like him a lot. Don't know if I'm 100% on board, but I like him for sure. That all being said, he's got some major discussions that he had, and I tried to get to it in here. Long story short, I think most of us get the big deal is this Kraken thing, some software program that came out, and it was meant to be like almost like a counter surveillance or a counter hack or some sort of thing that was able to backtrack votes and all this nonsense. I don't know. It's top secret probably to some degree. But the Kraken is this software platform that is essentially supposed to help identify where some of these strange things occurred, from what IP addresses, which countries, like all these different things. And again, I'm sure it's much more than just your IP address. These are things that are easy to change. So I don't pretend to know a lot about security. It's fascinating. I've known people that were big wigs in the old security world, but not my thing. Now, again, Milwaukee County recounts. Here's an example. This is Breitbart. So I just wanted to give you the example of what you're hearing from the mainstream media, and to fret not. Don't worry. Fear not. Things are playing out better than they make it sound. So Breitbart's saying, hey, Milwaukee County recount adds only 132 votes to Biden and Harris. Well, look at that. Now, granted, this, in my opinion, I didn't dig. I might be wrong, but this is probably in a county that already won for Biden anyway. Okay, maybe that one. And again, by the way, that's 132 people that you didn't count that should have been counted. Now, I'm surprised that they actually found it that way, right? I don't know if they had to recreate some balance or whatever. I'm just kidding. They would never do such things like that. That'd be cheating. So again, new lawsuits asking the Wisconsin Supreme Court to declare all drop box ballots illegal. And they're trying to block certification. And they don't want that to happen. So we got also election field officials saying state Supreme Court shouldn't invalidate the election. Oh no, which story should we ever agree with, considering they're both on Epoch Times? Hello? That's just confusing. But yeah, a little bit of a tussle going on, do you think? It's all going down. Trust me. A lot of stuff is happening. Now, there was this, I listened to a bunch of this, and it was kind of fascinating. We didn't really get anywhere. But the one thing I kind of wanted to throw out as a hypothetical, I just want to give me just a smidgen here. Just give me an inch. I don't want to take a mile, but just give me an inch. I'm wondering, if you think about where the deep state was supposed to end up in China, right? If you just think about for a second that was always the plan, and if you look at economies within the world, so pre-COVID, I think it was 2018 numbers are the ones that are committed to my memory at the moment, but the United States was roughly about a $20 trillion GDP economy. China was like 14.14, and Russia was like 1.9 or 1.8 trillion, like tiny, like less than a tenth, about a seventh of China, and half, roughly, or sorry, way the hell less. Anyway, I don't want to screw up all my math right now. Way less than the United States. Not even close. Like a tenfold difference. If you're going to go against the deep state, and you know the deep state's supposed to be in China, don't you almost kind of want to form allies with some of the other smaller countries that maybe by themselves aren't super powerful, but once united together could be? I'm just going to throw out a couple examples, say Australia, say India, Japan, maybe even South Korea, possibly Russia, maybe some stuff in Europe, who knows? But wouldn't you want to get your game together, if not for anything but a deterrent? So I wonder, when I saw this story, this is what popped into my head. Russia's ramping up its ballistic and hypersonic missile tests. And by the way, they've done amazing stuff in that regard. And I'm not trying to say, oh, Russia's the best. And I'm not trying to say I'm pro-Russia. I'm not anti-Russia by any means, but I spent the entire early part of my life hating Russia because they were the evil ones. Fact of the matter is, they've got some incredible anti-missile technology and just missile technology in general. Their SA-400, I think, is the 500 even out yet? Anyway, they've got some technology. So part of me wonders if we got out of that treaty with them to allow them to help the bigger picture. I know this sounds crazy, but I wanted that to kind of be that last thought that maybe you think about, because I don't think things are what we think they are. And I think we've seen ample evidence that the deep state wants to frame Russia for everything. And on top of that, they absolutely hate Orange Man. Orange Man bad, right? So, okay, kind of lumping them into a similar category, like they're both super hated. All right, blame for everything. Okay, I'm seeing some consistency here. And God forbid Trump has any sort of kind words said to Vladimir Putin, then, oh my God, he's in bed with Russia. And I believe Putin even came out and said he'd prefer Biden to win, which probably in the big picture was, one, a lie, but two, like from his standpoint, would be way easier to deal with. The guy won't even remember what he was saying at the beginning of his sentence once he gets to the end of the sentence. He'll be like, in the thing on the Moody Duty on the food. Tuesday? Like, right? Like, okay, Joe, let's have lunch. So who knows what the hell is going to happen. But I think things are unfolding. The public's finding out at the speed we're finding out. And we're finding out there is avenues where the information is coming out. They've not been able to censor it all. I mean, they've censored. Twitter's been a censor hog. It's almost unfair. Them and, YouTube's done pretty good on their side, but they've got their fair share of censorship. Wow. Well, who's neck and neck between Facebook and Twitter? Who's going to be the most censorship? By the way, Parler. Joined it myself. You should join it. You should check it out, too. I joined Rumble. I've joined BitChute, obviously on YouTube. So any of those other platforms are places you should probably look for some of us that are out there and doing some alternative media to try to help through this process. Deep state's going to make it sound all sorts of horrible. No way this can happen. You're going to run out of time. It's impossible. Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff you're going to hear. So every time you hear anything that sort of implies that it's impossible, that it's just a tiny number of votes, like just when it's the extreme opposite of what you think reality might be, understand that's the deep state trying to push back the only way it can, which is by lying. And when they lie about things that are relevant. So understand that the opposite of the lie is probably the truth. And so when they are lying, and if you understand that it's just a lie, then they're actually telling you the truth. It's one of the little secrets about when you wake up. You start to see this stuff pretty plain as day. So as more and more comes together, we'll certainly share all this. Again, united, we are exceptionally strong. And again, one thing to remind everybody out there are people on the left that are good people. They just, have bad leadership. There are people on the right that are bad people that have some bad leadership or just got into bed with the wrong people. Ultimately, the truth is where I think most of us really want to be. And once we've got that established, and in the end, it's going to be Trump, it's going to be constitutionalists, it's going to be the things that I think for most of us matter. But I just want everybody to understand we're not getting out of this without any sort of egg on our face, too. Republicans have some dirt. We need to get it out and air it and get those people out of office. The Democrats have a bunch. No offense, guys, but you've got way the hell more right now. And we need to start cleaning up some of that nonsense. So let's get the corruption out of our government, the government that should be we the people, by the people, for the people. That's what this is all about. This is our country, not theirs, and we're keeping it. That's what's happening. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.